the Dietitian, and welcome to Healthy Made Simple, where I show you how to make healthy eating simple. In this video, I'm going to be showing you recipes for 2 shredded chicken meals. Now, these are 2 meals that I cooked side by side, and there's a lot of overlap in the ingredients to make it easy and simple for me. Overall, this process took me about 2 hours, and it came out with 4 meals for us for the week. So I'd say that's not a bad time investment considering that I've got 4 dinners out of the way in just 2 hours on a Sunday. Now, these are both balanced meals. They're easy and simple to make with just a couple veggies, some jarred sauce, and some grains options, as well as the shredded chicken. Now, for this one, I'm actually going to show you how I cook the shredded chicken myself in my Instant Pot, but you can easily take a shortcut and just buy a rotisserie chicken and shred that instead and use that as part of these meals if you want to do it even quicker. But overall, these were very simple, healthy, easy meals. And of course, since there's a lot of overlap in the ingredients, the flavor profiles are similar, but with the variety that we had in terms of the grains that we used for it and the vegetables that we used for it, it was enough variety for us throughout the week that it didn't feel like we were eating the same dinner every day. Now, if you are interested, if you're looking to find some quick, easy, healthy recipes for balanced meals, this one might be a good one for you. I cook these in basically 1 pot each. I just needed a separate pot just to boil my pasta and boil my farro for this. But other than that, each meal was cooked in a pot to make it really simple so that you can knock this out quickly in a few hours on a weekend to help meal prep for the week. So if you are interested, stay tuned and I'll go through how I cooked both of these meals. Let's go! Alrighty, here is the ingredients list. Feel free to pause the video right here to take a screenshot of this for later. I'll be showing you all of these ingredients individually as we go along. Now, the first one is the boneless, skinless chicken breast from Costco. I buy these in big packs. They come in packs like this. I believe there might be 6 in a pack, and I just freeze them when I buy them, and then I defrost and use them as needed. And there's typically 2 chicken breasts in there, so I use 2 of those packs. And I'm gonna put my chicken in the Instant Pot to make that shredded chicken, making sure not to overcrowd it in there and try to separate them out as much as I can. So they're all going to go in there, and then next I'm gonna add in a can of chicken broth, and I try to go for the reduced sodium or less sodium options that they have. So I'm going to add in that whole can of chicken broth to cover the chicken. And I'm also going to fill up that chicken broth can with about half of the can with water. And I'm going to add that in as well just for some extra liquid in there to make sure it doesn't burn and is able to cook thoroughly. I'm going to season with black pepper. I'm not adding salt because there's already salt in the broth, so I don't need to add in extra salt. And I'm also going to add in some garlic powder for seasoning. And it's important to make sure you season along the way to get the most flavor out of something as bland as chicken breasts. Next, I'm adding in Italian seasoning for flavor. And again, you'll see me use a lot of the same seasonings because that's what we enjoy as a family. And then lastly, I have paprika that I'm adding in, and I didn't have too much left, so I just used whatever was left inside of my bottle, and I just measure based on what looks good to me. Now I'm going to mix all those seasonings and make sure my chicken's covered, everything is in there, as covered as they can be. If a little is peeking out, that's okay. Now I'm going to cover my Instant Pot, and then I'm going to set it to cook. I'm going to set it on high for 10 minutes. And I have it on high with more setting on mine, and I'm going to let it naturally release when it's done. I'm not going to quick release it. Now, my other ingredients I'm going to use are these diced onions from Trader Joe's. I love these to make it simple to cook, especially if you know if you're going to cook within the next 2 days. Those diced onions are a great option. And I'm also going to use tricolor bell peppers as part of my vegetables. Those are going to be as part of one dish, and I like going for the colorful kind to make sure I get a variety of nutrients. And then the other dish is going to have my yellow squash, so I get both of the yellow vegetables in both of the dishes. And lastly, I'm going to add in zucchini to both of my dishes to add in more vegetables along the way. So One will have the peppers and zucchini, and then one will have the squash and zucchini. I'm going to cut my bell peppers, I'm going to cut off the edges and cut out that white membrane inside. I'm going to do that to all of these bell peppers to get them ready and to make it simple and easy for myself. I'm not trained as a cook or a chef. This is just how I've learned to do this as a home cook, to make it easy and simple for me to prepare bell peppers because they're a great source of vitamin C. So I like to incorporate them as much as I can, especially these tricolor peppers. And this is how I found to make it easy and simple to prepare them. I cut off the sides, I take out the white membranes, I wash away all the seeds so that all I'm left is the flesh part of the bell pepper. And I'm just going to dice it up into small pieces to be added into what is going to become my pasta dish. So it's going to be pasta with the bell peppers, with zucchini, and the shredded chicken. And bell peppers are found year-round, so it's one of those easy vegetables that you can incorporate. They have great nutrition value as well, so I highly suggest, if you are trying to add in more vegetables, to go for bell peppers. I know especially these tricolor bell peppers tend to be used for snacks a lot, the little ones. If you enjoy eating them raw, great. I personally do not. I do not like the taste of these bell peppers raw, but I do love them cooked in a dish, especially something like a pasta dish. So if what it takes for me to eat it is to chop it up small like this and cook it into my pasta dish, then that's what I will do, because I know I will not eat it raw. All right, those are my bell peppers that are ready. Next, I'm going to do the squash, and what I do is I just cut off the ends and I'm going to chop it up into small pieces. And you can see I'm going to put that in a separate bowl, so each bowl is going to have the vegetables that I'm going to be using for that dish. Now this yellow squash is going to be part of the shredded chicken, yellow squash, zucchini, and farro. I'm going to be using farro as my whole grain for this, and I have that 10-minute one from Trader Joe's that I'll show you how I'm going to cook a little bit later. But by adding the yellow squash to this dish and the yellow, orange, and red bell peppers to the other dish, I'm making sure that I kind of cover the same color scheme in both of my dishes, because different color vegetables have different nutrients. So we always want to try to eat the rainbow, as we say. People focus a lot on the green vegetables, but there's a lot of nutritional value to other colors as well. So when I'm doing my vegetables, I try to keep that in mind, to add in as much color as I can to create that variety, while also keeping in mind what vegetables we like to eat. Squash and zucchini are easy to cook and easy to eat. They blend in easily into dishes without having a strong taste. So those are great vegetables for me to add more bulk to my dishes, especially something that's going to be a one-pot dish like this, where everything kind of just melds together. They add some great bulk so that I can add in more vegetables and have a greater balance to my plate. My goal is always to try to get to about half of my plate to be vegetables, quarter protein, and a quarter carbs. Now with this, I may not get fully to a half. This may be maybe thirds of each, but that's still a great balance compared to what a typical rice dish would be like, or what a typical pasta dish would be like, which is going to be heavier in carbs. All right, both of my vegetables are chopped up and ready to go. I'm going to start by adding olive oil to my hot pans on both sides. And I'm going to show you how I cook these side by side like this, so you can see that you can knock out both at the same time. I'm going to use those diced onions, and I'm just going to split it half. Half goes into one pot and half goes into the other pot. And again, this is such a huge time saver when cooking, and it still adds great flavor. I hate chopping onions, so this is a shortcut I will take every time I can. And I'm just going to cook those up for a few minutes until they start to soften up a little bit on both sides. Make sure both are coated in that olive oil. That should already be hot in there. And then I'm going to work on some more aromatics, which is going to be my crushed garlic. Now I'm going to add in 4 cubes of frozen crushed garlic per pan, and I get this crushed garlic from Trader Joe's in their frozen aisle, and this is a great option, especially if you don't like chopping up and crushing garlic. This makes it an easy shortcut. Just keep in mind that since it is frozen, it tends to splatter a little bit, and you got to break up the frozen garlic pieces to blend it all together, but I don't mind doing that at all because I find chopping up garlic to be more of a hassle myself. So if you're looking to add more flavor and looking for shortcuts, something like frozen crushed garlic can be an easy way of adding more flavor to your dishes without having to chop up onions and garlic and other aromatics that really add great flavor to any dish. All right, next goes in the vegetables. So I'm going to add in that zucchini and squash mix on one side, and then the other side is going to get the bell pepper and squash mix, zucchini mix as well. And I'm just going to mix that all together once I add it in, so all those onions and garlic that was in there gets coated around with all the vegetables as well, and it all blends together. And there is my other group of vegetables that I'm going to add in as well to mix it all around and make sure everything is coated in the olive oil, the onion, and the garlic, and the flavors are all melding together. Now, next goes my seasonings. I'm going to start with salt and pepper, and I tend to go lighter on the salt as much as I can, especially because I know later on I'm going to be adding a jarred pasta sauce to both of these dishes. So I'm going light on the seasoning, but also keeping in mind that this is going to make a big bulk. This is a lot of meals I'm making, so I want to make sure it's flavorful as well. So season it to taste. What works for you might be trial and error. All right, next I'm going in with the garlic powder. Again, I keep my seasonings relatively simple, just the stuff we enjoy. I know there's already garlic in there, but garlic powder always helps with flavor. I'm going to put in a decent amount of Italian seasoning as well, which is going to melt together with that marinara that's going to be coming in later. All right, I'm going to mix all those seasonings in, make sure all my veggies are nicely coated in seasonings so that my veggies are going to be flavorful. You gotta make your vegetables flavorful. There's no reason to eat raw, bland vegetables. Make them tasty so you keep eating them. Don't think about the perfect way of eating vegetables, which would just be raw and bland, but instead think about what is the way that you're going to eat it on a day-to-day basis. All right, I'm going to cover those up and cook those until my veggies are softened. And in the meantime, my chicken was done. There is my chicken, my 4 chicken breasts that I've cooked in that chicken broth. I'm going to be using that chicken broth as part of my meals as well, so I don't waste it. There's a lot of flavor in there from both the chicken and the seasonings I added in. Now for my grains, I'm going to start by cooking my whole wheat spaghetti. I get this one from Trader Joe's, but any whole wheat spaghetti will work for this. And I'm also going to use the 10-minute Farro from Trader Joe's. I like these because they're pre-cooked, so it doesn't take as long to cook it when I'm meal prepping. And at the meantime, my veggies are starting to come along, so I just like to give it a toss every once in a while to make sure nothing sticks to the bottom. And you can see that little pink pot at the top. That's the pot that I'm going to be using in the meantime to cook my spaghetti first, and then my farro later to be incorporated into both of these dishes that are coming along. And for my sauce, I'm going to use Rao's homemade marinara sauce. This is by far my favorite pasta marinara sauce, and what I look for is 0 grams of added sugar anytime I'm looking for a jarred sauce. That is the one main thing that I'm looking for. And of course, I take a look at the sodium as well, but I'm going to do half of the jar each in both of these pots and separate that into 2. Now, if you wanted to change this up and do a different sauce in each one, you absolutely could. And I'm also going to use half a cup of chicken broth from the Instapot that's added to each, just to make sure there's enough liquid in there for everything to be coated and for the sauce to cook down a little bit. Now, as I mentioned, instead of marinara, if you wanted to do a different sauce for each one of the pots, you absolutely could, but I just find it easy to take one big jar of pasta sauce and throw it into both. All right, my water is boiling, so I'm going to cook about 1/3 of that packet of spaghetti that you saw in order to have a good balance between my carbs. And while my pasta is cooking, I'm going to shred all the chicken. Now, as I mentioned before, if you wanted to take a shortcut, you could easily get a rotisserie chicken and shred that instead. In terms of shredding, I find forks to work the best. I know there are those claws out there. We actually used to have them, and they broke very easily after a few uses. I don't know if we were just using it too rough, but if that works for you, that's great. Maybe don't get one that's plastic and can easily break. But for me, just some good old forks work really well to shred it up. This really is the only tedious part of this whole recipe, is just shredding the chicken. So if you wanted to be lazy and just chop it up, you absolutely could, but I like the different texture that shredded chicken provides to this, and really blends together with the spaghetti well, and also gives kind of a different texture in the farro dish versus just little bits of chicken. So kind of changing up the texture can really help when you are eating kind of the similar lean proteins over and over again. If you're eating a lot of chicken breast and you're looking for some variety, changing up the way you cut it up can really be helpful. All right, while I'm working on that, my pasta was ready, so I'm just going to drain that and put that aside and finish up the last of my chicken that is shredded. And as you can see, I left the seasonings that were all sitting on top of the chicken to make sure those seasonings come into the shredded chicken and get added in to the whole dish overall as well. So this made a lot of chicken. For chicken breast gave us a lot of shredded chicken to make this a nice high protein meal for both. Alrighty. My pasta sauce is ready, so I'm just going to give that a stir around. It looks like my sauce is cooked down a little bit. Those flavors are starting to melt together, and give both sides a nice stir. And you'll see the left one is going to look a little bit watery because zucchini and squash are more watery vegetables. All right, next I'm going to do my shredded chicken. I'm adding half of the bowl into one pot and the other half of the bowl into other pot, and I'm going to mix all of that together. I want that chicken to really be coated in that sauce and the veggies because it is chicken breast, so it is a more bland piece of meat. It's a leaner piece of meat, so it can be dry, but to avoid that, I want to make sure I use a good sauce and really mix it all together so that the chicken does not feel dry but feels moist in there. And honestly, when the chicken comes out of the Instant Pot just as is, you can easily eat it like that too if you just wanted to have a piece of chicken breast. I just prefer cooking it this way when I'm making something different. That's all. Alrighty, now I'm gonna mix together this right side as well. So this right side that you're seeing right now, this is going to become my pasta dish with the bell peppers and the zucchini in there. That is going to have my pasta added in, whereas the other one is what's going to have the farro added into it as well. And again, you can see this takes a little bit of time just to make sure that chicken is separated, but it's all worth it once it all mixes together. All right. Since my pasta is done, now I'm boiling some water for the farro, and while that's going, I'm going to add in my pasta into this pot. I'm just going to add it in slowly just to make sure everything mixes together, to make it easier for myself later on versus just dumping it all in there, taking it a step-by-step process. Sometimes being a little bit more tedious in your cooking and just taking a few extra steps can really help prevent making it more difficult in the long run. So find ways to make cooking easy for you, make it simple for you. I'm a home cook. I'm not trained in all this, so this is just my simple way of cooking, and I'm seasoning it with salt because I hadn't added salt to my pasta after it was drained, and mixing that together. And this is pretty much almost done. This was very basic, simple cooking that hopefully you'll be able to incorporate as well. But what I'm going to do is just mix all of this together and let that pasta cook in the sauce for a little bit, just to make sure that the sauce really blends into the pasta and all comes together nicely. So once I've given it a good mix throughout, I'm going to cover this up, let that cook for a few minutes while I work on the rest of my dish. Alrighty, there we go. And in the meantime, my water boiled, so I'm going to add in my 10-minute farro. And keep in mind for this, you need a big pot. And you'll see in the back it says that to boil it for about 10 to 12 minutes. It does tend to bubble up, so make sure you're using a big pot for this, even though it doesn't look like a lot of farro in there. A bigger pot, you can see the boils back there, and make sure there's enough space. Alrighty, the pasta is ready. It was that simple. While I was putting in my farro, my pasta got ready. I'm just going to give it another mix around, and there it is. There is my pasta dish. I'll give you a nice close-up of it. And here's my big pot of pasta. This was 2 meals for us, 2 dinners that it put together, and it's got a nice balance between veggies, lean proteins, and my whole grains from the pasta. And next I'm going to show you what it looked like in a bowl once I actually ate it for dinner. Here's how it all came together. And you can easily eat it like this. I personally like a little cheese in my pasta, so I'm going to sprinkle some cheese, and all I had at home was this Mexican shredded cheese. I bought the 2 giant pack from Costco, so we're still working through it. I know it's not mozzarella cheese or anything, but cheese is cheese and it still tastes good. So I'm just going to add a little bit of cheese, stick that in the microwave to melt it all together, and there's my melted cheese. And that was really delicious with a little bit of extra cheese in there, but honestly, it's just as good without the cheese as well if you prefer not to add cheese in. But here's a nice, easy, simple pasta meal that you can quickly make on the weekend to help prepare ahead for the week. And there you go, a nice, delicious bite of pasta. Okay, and in the meantime, my chicken is all blended in together with the veggies on this side, and my farro should almost be done, so we can add that in to finish up this last of it as well. And there's the farro cooked. I'm going to drain that, and then we're going to add that into the pot and mix it together and just cook it for a few minutes, just like I did with the pasta, so that everything comes together. And again, you can see both of these dishes I was able to quickly, easily make side by side, all in all about 2 hours, which is not bad considering how much food this created. And keeping the vegetables easy and seasoning with salt here, keeping the vegetables simple and easy and using the same sauce for both really helped cut back on time to be able to prepare this quickly on the weekend to meal prep for the week. So I'm going to mix all of this together, and then I'm going to be covering it up, letting it cook so that the farro absorbs some of that sauce and flavor as well, and then it'll be ready to go. There we go. And we cover and cook, and once it's done, there it is. There is my farro chicken and veggies that are ready for eating. And I just pack these away into some containers for the week, and we just pull them out and microwave them for dinners. There we go. There's that bite. And I'll show you what it looks like close up. You'll see there's a lot more chicken and veggies with this, and the farro's not as visible. The farro really blends in and is just there to add bulk and more carb to the meal, so it doesn't feel like you're just eating chicken and veggies, but it's not as noticeable as the pasta. So I would say this is a lower carb option in terms of a meal. And there's everything all together. You'll see once it kind of sat and settled in after a while, it did thicken up. It wasn't as watery as what you saw in the pot, but honestly, it was still delicious. And there's that bite of my farro, chicken, and veggies. And to make it extra delicious, I added in some salsa. I had this organic Jack's Cantina salsa that I got from Costco, so I used that, but honestly any salsa would work. You could probably even use hot sauce for this. I believe my husband used hot sauce for lunch on one of his days when he took this for lunch. I think we had some leftovers, so you can add that in as well, but I find that some fresh salsa like this helped kind of moisten it up a little bit since it had thickened up, and it added really nice flavor to it too. So I would suggest doing that, or maybe drizzling something else on top just to add a little bit of extra flavor to finish it off. And there it is. There is a nice balanced meal with chicken, veggies, and thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped give you ideas about how you can cook some balanced shredded chicken meals that are going to have both your whole grains, veggies, and a lean protein to make a nice balanced meal all together that comes together quickly on a weekend as well to help meal prep for the week. And these are easily customizable as well. You can easily swap out the vegetables with different vegetables that you enjoy. You can switch out the grains too, try different kinds of pasta, or you can try different kinds of grains. You could even use rice for this, or barley, or couscous, or anything else you really wanted to try, just to keep the base core the same of having a protein, having some vegetables, and then having some sort of a sauce to help put it all together as well. You can easily switch up the sauce too. If you didn't want to do both marinara sauces, you can grab a different sauce for one of your pots. But I hope this at least gives you an idea about how you can easily prep for the week to cook maybe for a few hours to really knock out complete meals that you're going to be able to use throughout the week as leftovers. And thank you so much for following Healthy Made Simple. I hope this channel helps make healthy eating simple for you and gives you some actually usable ideas that you can apply in your day-to-day life. If you like following my videos, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really does help my channel grow. And feel free to leave a comment down below with your thoughts on my videos, suggestions for future videos, or anything else that you had questions on, and I'd be happy to communicate with you. Thank you again so much for following me along, and stay tuned for future videos. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.